Okay, we're live.
Awesome. Hello, everybody. This is Jeff Laplace and Arnold Martinez coming to you live with Spiritual Defense Radio. How are you doing, Arnold?
I'm good. Hi, Jeff. How you doing?
I am doing fantabulous. If I was doing any worse or any better, however you want to say that, it would be illegal. So today we're actually switching roles, folks. Usually I am on the hot seat. Arnold likes to live his life and then pose some sort of questions or a series of questions to me focused on things that are going on in his life, things that he's read, things that he's experienced, and trying to really work hard in the application of God's word. And it's not because I am some sort of spiritual guru know-it-all. It's because just from the aspect that I got a little bit more experience.
Yeah, he's my preacher.
So, but today we are switching roles. Arnold said the dangerous thing. I couldn't think of anything, and I was like, ooh, I got something. So now I am going to pose Arnold a question that he has not heard of yet, has not prepared for, and let's see how well he goes. Are you ready, sir?
I'm ready with my finger on the stop button. Okay.
Okay, here you go. In your experience in being a Christian, you have been also been blessed. I want to say blessed with opportunities to go with other people, such as our friend Carl and myself, to situations in which you're able to help out with Bible studies, help out with evangelism, and doing all that kind of stuff. Now, as a new Christian, what has that process been like? Because when I first met you, confidence wasn't as high as what we might like. So you've gone from, if I may use the phrase, an insecure person into someone that is now bubbling over with confidence to the point in which you are now telling me that you're even like, you're evangelizing your friends like on your own. And so, I mean, now you're going.
I'm attempting.
That's the attempt.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the point is. The attempt is actually doing it because we're told to evangelize. What we're not guaranteed of are the results. That's in God's hands.
Yeah.
So you're doing what you're supposed to do. And this is a relatively short period of time. And the reason why I'm asking this is a couple of things. First of all, the reason I'm asking this is because, again, there's people who've been Christians for most of their lives that don't know how to evangelize, that have not shared their faith in any sort of regular schedule. It's not a regular part of their life. And also, you're doing this like right out the bat. And again, just your journey from someone who wasn't very confident to somebody who's way more confident than, I've just seen your confidence just blossom over this last year. It's been awesome to watch. So what has this journey been like for you?
Well, that's funny that you asked because I was actually thinking about that earlier. I was going to ask you, how'd I do last night?
Well, tell them what happened last night.
Well, last night Jeff invited me to a Bible study for just a new member at the church. Mm-hmm. Kind of asked me out of the blue to be there. I'm like, oh, what am I going to do? So, I went and I hope I helped.
Of course you did.
I hope it was cool.
No, of course you did. Even that's just the helping going because just having another presence there is like someone else talking to your kids. You can talk to your kids all the time and they're like, yeah, Dad, whatever. Da, 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 da. But if someone else is there and someone else agrees and someone else can actually add to it doesn't even have to be much, but just to hear someone else say something along the same lines, you start thinking to yourself, well, maybe my parents aren't crazy.
Yeah, and it helps to have the guy with dreadlocks tell you. It's going to be a problem after I cut him.
I know. Well, no. You still.
How will people trust me without?
You still got your tattoos.
I have to get more. Anyway, but going back to what you asked me, you did not meet me before college. And before college, I was a very outgoing person. I would describe myself like that. I was very social. Mm-hmm. And I could always fake confidence.
Right.
You know, I could always public speak, or I could always do stuff like that. It wasn't hard for me. And then like when I went to you know, Boston, like that stuff happened, and I kind of like went into like a depression, into a shell for like the past, I don't know, 7-8 years.
Right.
And then, you know, I started going back to school again. School was easier after working so many times. And school was easier, so I had confidence there. And I had confidence with teaching people stuff. You know, so like confidence in Christ though, like that was different, and I felt like that was hard, cuz like I could be confident in something that I knew,
Mm-hmm.
like I knew how to, you know, run a soundboard.
Right.
You know, I was a pretty like cocky dude, right? I was like, oh, I know what to do. I know what I'm doing. I don't want to listen to people.
Right.
And then, you know, I converted and I started reading and going to Bible study. And then I started feeling not unconfident, but just like, whoa, like this is a life change. This is something I'm not ready for and something I'm not prepared for. And, you know, I went back into that shell.
Right.
And you saw me at that shell. And I was also depressed when you met me.
Yeah.
So you saw me in like that shell too, you know, and just like, you know, I guess if I can put it this way, like, and I feel like everyone is like this, like, you know, we go through waves in life where we're happy and we're sad and we're happy and we're sad, and we can do things better like a few years later than we did a few years before, and vice versa. Mm-hmm. So like, for me, it's been a blessing to see the way God has changed my life. To see, like, yeah, like I was afraid when I went, before I was going to get baptized. My concern was that everything was going to change, and my friends weren't going to understand, and I would have to explain it to them, and I'd have to like, just, yeah, like to be confident in front of my friends, like, this is my decision, like I'm doing this. And you know, it like took me just saying, I'm gonna do this, like no one else has to be there. Like on my baptism, you guys were there, right? I didn't, you know, all my other friends, like I didn't care if they were there, mm-hmm. like because they wouldn't understand. I was almost, and you were there. I mean, you know, like I was almost not even gonna tell my parents to go.
Right.
You know, you and Sherry were the ones who told me to tell them to go, mm-hmm. Because I knew they wouldn't understand. You know, and it's just like, and that helped, right? You know, because that was me trying to hide it, and then you just told me no, like show it, like show everyone what you're doing. And then you also helped me with the Facebook stuff. You know, I wouldn't post, and then now I'm posting our spiritual defense stuff. You know, I do those little things that you send me sometimes. Right. But yeah, I just want to go back to like knowing, like, you know, we did a thing about faith last week.
Right.
You know, faith is knowing, and reading, I mean, you know, I'm just a fast reader, I guess, you know, so reading through this year is what helped me. The Bible literally helped me. What? Right? The Bible, like reading through the Bible helped me, because I had that knowledge, and I had that, just like that confidence in, like, I know what I read.
Right.
Like, I just saw this, dude. So like, you know, you can tell me that, like for example, if you're a friend who doesn't believe in my conversion or anything, it's like, dude, you can tell me all the things you have to tell me about your worldly point of view and how doing X, Y, and Z helps you forget about it and whatever, like how you're dealing with life. But at the end of the day, I still see you're miserable.
Right. And
I know why you're miserable. Like, mm-hmm. I know. Because why? Because I read the Bible.
Right.
Like, I like, it just put it into perspective. Mm-hmm. You know, my friend Cole would like to say we're all trying to fill this hole in our heart, and it's a God-shaped hole. Right. You know, and I see that everywhere now. Mm-hmm. And that's where that confidence came from, is knowing. It's just like knowing, like, I filled that hole. Right. And you know, I was reading that book on marriage, finding the one or whatever. Right. What I liked the most wasn't about like your, like, you know, the person you find. It's about like, you're good because you got your relationship with God already. Like, you're gonna be good no matter who you find, and when you find them. If you don't find them, like, you know, the people around you don't define who you are really. Like, who you choose to marry, who you like, what you choose to do in life, as long as it's led by God. So it's just like that, knowing that like I got a friend walking with me, kind of deal.
Right.
And I got my family. I got you. I got you in the church, and I thank God every night for you guys. And it's just something I know, and it's stuff like that is what gave me the confidence that I have now. And to see our new friends at church, our new guest visitors, coming in with that unconfidence. Should I be here?
Right.
Are my kids a problem? All that stuff. It's just like, dude, I was right there. I see it.
Yeah.
Like it's just like, oh, I get it now. Right? I get it. And it helps because, like I said, people, like when we were doing the evangelism with Carl, people are intimidated by Carl. He's just a big guy. Yeah, he's just a big guy walking up to you when the sun goes down.
Yes.
First of all,
he is a guy who literally he. It's not that he looks like he could kill you. He literally could.
Yeah, I mean, he won't. He won't.
I mean,
yeah. I mean, so I could tell how some people more my age are receptive when they see someone like me next to Carl.
Right.
Just yeah, tattoos and dreads and all. Right.
Well, you are not your tattoos and dreads.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, that's why I don't care if having them or not anymore.
Yeah.
I know some people are concerned, like, oh, I want to get them erased. That's not who I am anymore. I'm just like, dude, that's who you were. Like, deal with it. Like, right. God's gonna see it. God saw it already. Don't worry about it.
Right. Right. So yeah. So I mean, it's such a big jump, going from, lack of a better phrase, you might call him someone new. You might call it a pew sitter.
A pew sitter.
We don't have pews, but a chair sitter. But someone who's just kind of sitting in the audience is someone who's actually getting actively involved. I mean, it's such a wonderful transformation. Thank you. To see someone to really grasp that in, because I'm glad you said it, and I'm glad you said it. We're getting some new people in, and when you experience being around people who don't know God, you see the insecurities in them that you used to have.
Yeah.
Or I mean that's what it is. It's like now you realize that when you walk with the Lord, you have something that they don't have, and then that should be the longing with which to share. There was an author named Eric Hoffer who once said,
Keep that thought,
okay,
dude. I'm sorry, because that buzzing is bugging me.
Oh. Is that your water cooler?
Is that where? Do you think that's where it's coming from?
I think so.
1 moment, Radio Land.
Well, I'm going to keep on talking because Arnold's now walking around, but he's a sound guy, so he can listen to and do two things at once.
It was the water cooler.
Yeah. There was a guy named Eric Hoffer, and he used to say, or he wrote in a book once, that the understanding that people have of the Bible as Christians part of it came from their life as sinners. In other words, they learned what it was like to not have God in their life. And then before they learned what it was like to have God in their life.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. In other words, they see it, they know, because Christians sometimes get a bad rap from the unsaved, and that bad rap is, well, you just don't understand. You don't know where I've been. You don't know what I've gone through. You don't know the struggle I have, and on and on and on and on and on and on and on. And it's like, dude, get off your ego trip. Do you think you're the only one who has ever sinned in your way before?
Exactly.
There is nothing new under the sun. There is no sin that other people have not done before you. You have not created anything. And that includes Christians. I mean, and that includes people in the church. That includes people who walk with the Lord now. There was once upon a time that they were doing all sorts of wickedness too. That might even shock those who view themselves as being away from God. And so again, it's just that realization of what another preacher used to say that I really like is like, look, We're just, he said it as preachers, but it's actually true of all Christians. It says, preachers, we're just beggars telling the other beggars where the bread is. I mean, we literally have nothing that nobody else could have.
Yeah.
And that's why it's important to, if you're able to like disciple people into the church, we need to strive to get them working and evangelizing and reaching out to their social circle as quickly as possible, because now they see, they're able to do this contrast and comparison, what they have versus what their friends don't have. And that's such a powerful thing.
Yeah, and I was thinking, we had talked about, I usually come to you with my life situations here.
Right.
And it's so funny how the only reason I really couldn't pinpoint anything to bring up today or think about or talk about is because last week we touched on the idea of, what is a mission.
Right.
And, believe it or not, like, I think about it, like, I thought about it all week. And, like, what, with that in mind, like, what am I doing now? What am I doing here? What am I doing on my day-to-day with my friends? How am I being a light for them? How am I glorifying God? And, I think I told you earlier this week, it's been a tough week for my friends. Not for me. I lost my wallet. I have a bad foot. They weren't serving all day breakfast at McDonald's yesterday. But I'm having a great week.
Wait.
And it's so funny because
first world problems.
Exactly.
We are out of Egg McMuffin.
Exactly. So, because I told my friend that I'm like, oh man, they don't have all day breakfast. He's like, my day would have been ruined. That would have been it for me. I'm like, what?
Wow.
Come on, bro. It's not a big deal, And then, things are happening out there in the social world or whatever, and people are getting mad at each other and they're leaving establishments and they're quitting. They're doing petty things. I'm just like, well, like it's a real bummer because I'm not involved. Like, I'm just like sitting there trying to tell my friend, hey, like, try forgiveness, try forgiving them, and then just try still being there for them, even if a person is not appreciating it, or if you feel they're not appreciating it. Same thing to the other person. Same thing to everyone else listening in. It's just like, I see people going through their stuff, and I just feel like, one of those prophets in the Old Testament that no one wants to listen to, right? And it's just like, you're trying to tell them, hey, bro, like, like, don't do it. Don't do what you're doing. Like, think about forgiveness. Think about, like, being kind. It's like the easiest thing to do. It's a lot easier than being vindictive and spiteful. And like, trust me, it really is. And like, they'll be like, yeah. And then they'll still do what they're going to do. Like, they're still going to be their rotten self.
Right.
Or, they're going to turn to that. And it's just like, I see where that can feel like I lost or like I'm losing, but like I'm still there. And it doesn't matter. To me, it's just like the devil can keep telling these people whatever.
Right.
And I'm just like, I am not, like, as long as I'm still here, I'm winning.
Well, one of the preachers burn out fast. It has
for that reason, people just don't listen.
Well, that's one of the reasons. I mean, there's several reasons that go into it. I mean, a lot of preachers are lonely. There's like the majority of preachers and preachers' family that feel like they have no close friends. There's just all these types of things that they're always fearful for their job and things like this but there's all that stuff that goes in. But one of the things that goes into it is just the lack of seeing fruit, right? And it's not from sometimes we don't get fruit because we're not working, but also sometimes we're working and we work a lot and we still see no fruit, and so it can be very easy to be discouraged. It can be very it's like I've planned things at North Mission in which nobody came. I mean, so it's easy to feel defeated. When doing the Lord's work. But again, something that I have to go back to again and again and again is that it's not my job to win.
Yeah. But
I mean,
like even with that mentality, it's like I said, like it's not like I'm winning. Like I know in the end, God wins,
yeah,
and I'm just there, and I'm not like I'm winning as long as I'm not giving up.
exactly.
Yeah, that's my mentality. It's just
Yes.
like yeah, like you can keep trying, Satan. I'm coming back.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and like from what I've read, you know, we have all that power. We have what it takes. You know, if we're gonna talk about like you know just all that stuff. You know, showing up and all that good stuff. You know,
Right.
it's like that's you know we're talking about being a man the other week, and that's what it is. It's just like I got what it takes to stick around and see through this
Exactly.
and help these people.
Right, and that's winning.
Yeah,
That's the winning aspect. Again, as Paul would write to the churches, you know, he planted, Apollos watered, and God
Yeah.
gave the increase. That's super important verse because what it shows is ministry is a team sport. You know, it's an individual team sport, like jiu-jitsu, like wrestling, like tennis, like track and field, and so you know so many other sports in which you're part of a team. Yeah, but you sometimes have to compete alone. But also, you know, in the grand scheme of things, we're not alone. We're not alone. We have other Christians, but then we also have God, Jesus, and the Holy Spirit that are guiding our work too. And so again, in these times in which we may feel like we're not being effective, nobody's coming to Christ because of our efforts. That's not necessarily true. We just might be one of the steps on their path to salvation.
Yeah.
You know, if they see the path through with us or through someone else, I don't care because it's their salvation that's important.
Yeah.
You know, I don't care if, you know, just to use the example like with you and I don't care if someone studies with you or studies with me or studies with someone else because, you know, at the church because, you know, again, they're getting it. You know, they're getting the gospel. That's what's more important. If I can learn to take ego out of it and if I can learn to take my expectations out of it, then I'm winning.
Yeah.
Because again, it's not about what I do, and it's not about how many people I baptized. You know, somebody once asked me that if I had any idea how many people I've baptized in ministry. And I was like, I got no idea. And they're like, how can you have no idea? It's because I don't keep track. That's why.
Yeah.
I mean, they don't have preacher baseball cards, you know, with our picture on the front, and then the back has all of our stats.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not the way it works, you know. And Paul, in writing to the Corinthians, he'll mention that. He's like, you know, I baptized this person, I baptized that person, but if I baptized anybody else, I can't remember. You know, I mean, it's not my job to keep up with my stats. It's my job to do the work of the kingdom. You know, that's what and when I'm able to do that, then you know, sowing seeds. You know, you allow God to do the work and God to see it through. And regardless of how much of that kind of result that you get, you're still producing fruit because at the end of the day, you're improving. You know, I mean, you know, the teacher always learns more than the students because the teacher has to prepare the lesson. You know, and so regardless of how many people you're able to reach out, you're improving, you're getting better, you're getting more knowledgeable, you're getting more confident, you're getting braver, and you know, you're learning to face a variety of situations.
Yeah.
And that's a praise God because you're upping your game, so to speak. And so again, when you know, Carl and I started asking you to accompany us to these various things, you know, what was knee-jerk gut reaction?
Oh yeah, I was hoping that he would cancel the first time.
Okay, why?
So then Friday comes, because I would have to go up with him. I don't know what he was gonna do. Like he was just like, let's go evangelize in the park. I'm like, what? How do we do that? Are we gonna stand up on a soapbox? But no, you know.
You ever seen those people on the corner of Nolana and 10th Street?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Describe that.
I mean, they take up all four corners with the megaphone.
With the megaphone.
With the megaphone.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
That's
blasting at you as you're going down the street at 40 miles an hour.
That's weird.
Yeah, and then if you stopped at a red light, you only get like 2 minutes of the message, and then the light turns green, and then you go.
But like, you know, that's I think the stigma about evangelists and evangelism is that they're abrasive and that they're gonna come at you really like harshly and it's gonna be really uncomfortable talking to them, you know. And the way Carl had tried to approach people, you know, he's a big guy, but you know, he approaches with great kindness and patience with people,
Right.
You know, he just wants to represent God in the right way. You know, he tells them, and people, because he knows, like he told me, like people might be nasty to you, like they might talk about, well, what about homosexuality? What does God think about that? And you know, Carl, as opinionated as he is,
Right.
he will be like, that's a good question, but let's get back to it.
Right.
I'll get back to it later, because he says at the end of the day, the Lord's word, like, answers their question.
Right.
You know, and it just depends on like what they're having a problem with, because like the way he evangelized, you know, he asks a simple question. It's like he gives them like a little illusion, like a little game, and then he brings in the idea of like self-deception, you know, and his evangelism spiel is basically like we're deceiving ourselves into thinking we're good people. Mostly all of us, you know. He's like, he says, I know I did. You know, and he gives them this kind of quiz, you know. He's like, well, I'll give you a test. I'll give you the test of a good person test. Are you ready? You know, and he asks them, have you ever lied? You know, okay, yes or no. Well, if you already lied, then, you know, he got you there. But then, you know, people can say, no, I've never lied. I've never stole. And then he can say, you know, have you ever committed adultery? And most people say no. But and then he brings it back, well, the way Jesus described it is if lust is in your heart. So now that we talked about that, have you ever had lust for someone? You know, people are like, well, yeah.
Yeah.
You know, same thing with killing people. People are like, oh, I've never killed anybody. And then Carl comes at them with scripture. He says, you know, Jesus Christ said, even if you hate someone, you kill them.
Right.
So have you hated anybody? You know, like, oh, well, yeah. You know, and it's that kind of like, you know, he's not giving his opinion. He's just trying to reason with them.
Right.
I mean, like, you know, like Paul would do. And you know, seeing it that way, and then reading Acts again with the group that we have on Wednesdays, you know, it puts all that into perspective. The way we're supposed to come to people. You know, the book of Acts describes Paul, you know, not directly describes him. You know, a lot of these people in the Bible are indirectly described. You know, you get the picture of Paul through the whole book of Acts. Like, you get who he is and what kind of person he is. And there's an account of when he is in Athens, and he uses their pretty much their own knowledge, like the things that they were into, their fads, their jargon. Right. And he would use what they knew to bring his message to reason with them, and some people were very receptive. You know, he would say he quoted from Socrates, I think, or he quoted from
like their plays.
He quoted from from philosophers, because he was well read. Yeah. And you know what I take away from that is like, yeah, we have to be knowledgeable. Like, you know, we have to be able to meet people halfway, be everything for everyone. Right. You know, and I took that to heart. Like, I do take that to heart, because I'm not trying to be the unrelatable guy that's trying to tell people to repent. Right. And that idea does not give me confidence. No. What gives me confidence is knowing we're the same and we're in this together, and I love you, so let me help you. You know, that's what gives me confidence.
Well, you know, it's a couple of years ago I had this just epiphany. You know, and you know, when you read the Bible a lot, you know, sometimes things just fly by, or some things come to your attention, and you're like, holy cow. And why have I never seen it like that before? But you know, we always, you know, people love to hold up how Jesus associated with the disenfranchised, you know, in his ministry, and you know, we have people in the churches today who are scared to do that. But the thing about it is because for some reason we think that we have to change who we are in order to be able to do it. You know, it's like, well, if I go to the disenfranchised, if I go, you know, to the outcast and whatnot, well, I don't want to, you know, I can't tell them about Jesus because that's going to chase them away. Well, it's like, well, wait a minute, you know, what Jesus did this regularly, right? Yeah. Do we think that Jesus changed his message in order to work with the disenfranchised? No. In other words, he remained exactly who he was. But here's the kicker, is that, the tax collectors and the prostitutes and, again, the disenfranchised and all that, they wanted to be around him.
Yeah.
Jesus didn't have to chase them down.
Yeah.
But yet Jesus didn't change his message.
Yeah.
So how did he do that?
Yeah, he was just a cool guy.
He was a cool guy. He was filled with love, and for the first time in some of their adult lives, so to speak, they're actually seeing someone who genuinely cares and loves them.
And not only that, he's preaching of the living God that the other people who are preaching him are kind of, it seems like they're coveting their own thing. Like, no, this is our God. No.
Yeah.
And this is the first kind of guy who tells you, no, this God's for everyone.
Right.
Even for you.
Yeah. And he'll talk to the women, and he'll talk to the prostitutes, he'll talk to the tax collectors, he'll talk to the zealots, he'll talk to all these people whom the proper religious folk would not waste any time on, because they're a lost cause.
Yeah.
They're a lost cause. And so to be able to erase that from our makeup, to be able to just be willing to go out to anyone and to work with them, that can be very empowering. And this is what we need to get back to, because that's how evangelism's done. This is how souls are saved, is that there's people out there waiting for just somebody to talk to them, and sometimes nobody will.
Yeah.
And so the idea of being able to be approachable. I've told Bible classes before. It's like, or I've asked the question. It's like, why are some Christians so awkward in social situations? And so you're laughing. You know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And I say it tongue in cheek. I laugh about it because I know what it's talking about. It's just people who try to go out to the world and, like, someone says a curse word and the Christian starts freaking out.
Mm-hmm.
Start throwing holy water on everybody. And it's like you can't do that. You can't do that. You can't be surprised when worldly people act like worldly people.
Yeah.
You can't be surprised when sinners act like sinners. And so it's like, let some stuff ride, show some grace, and keep on going with it. Because if they're willing to talk to you, that means they're willing to talk to you.
Yeah.
And you find them where they are, and hopefully through the grace of God, we can help lead them to something better. But you got to be willing to. You got to be willing to go, which again, bring you back to the original point. You actually was wanting Carl to cancel the first time that you went out with him.
I was kind of hoping. I didn't pray on it.
I hope oh God, please,
like,
oh God, please let Carl call so that it can cancel.
I was just thinking, like, I'll go, but I wouldn't be mad if he canceled. But no, it ended up being a good night. We had fun.
Right. Okay. So that's an evangelism situation. Then you started getting called into doing, like, Bible studies, like in-house Bible studies.
So I've only been to
folk.
one with Carl.
You've been to one with Carl and one with me.
One with you. So that's two.
Okay. Well, that's
right,
two.
so
That's still good, because
there's no baseball card stats here.
No, that's fine, because that's two more than some other Christians have done in their life.
The first time with Carl,
you don't have to go into detail. But just
I'm not going to tell you the name. I'm not going to tell you.
No. But when he says, "Hey Arnold, I'm going to go to this guy's house,"
he's like, "Can you go with me?"
Can you go with me?
Man, I think that was another instance in which the guy was a lot more comfortable with me than with Carl. Mm-hmm. That approachable thing.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, I remember, like, it was a really weird situation. It was just a member who had left the church and come back, and he didn't really want to get baptized for the right reasons, and, like, I don't.
But what was it? What was your, like, reaction? Your side of this?
How am I gonna help?
Okay, there you go.
Like,
how am I gonna help?
What am I gonna do? Okay, and am I just there to listen? Like, okay, if y'all just want me to go listen, I'll listen. I mean.
So you went
same
with
thing with yesterday. I was just like, well, I don't know what you wanted me to do. I was like, well, I mean, I could probably go, but I don't even know these people. But if you want me to listen, or if you want me to, I'll listen.
Right.
Maybe they're trying to teach me something. I don't know.
Okay, so your first reaction, or one of your first reaction was, how am I going to help?
Yeah.
Okay, so where does the how am I going to help attitude come from?
Like in general, I guess
Yes.
from that fear, like
Yeah.
I don't know, from just not being confident.
Is it from you being new? Is
Yeah,
it from okay?
I mean, from me being like, yeah, dude, like I was converted. I was baptized in April,
Right.
and you want to bring me to talk to a man who's much older than me, and preach to him pretty much, and evangelize him. I was
Right.
like, woof, like, all right, like getting ready, I stretch out, like, all right, let's do this, But I always liked being the trial by fire kind of guy. When it came to new stuff,
Right.
And I know I can kind of understand why now. I mean, it's just like this ingrained thing. Like, I just want to know if I can do stuff.
Right.
So that's what that comes from is like, yeah, I'm gonna be concerned and iffy at first, but I mean, especially now, like if God's calling you to do something, you just gotta like, get up, shake it off, and go do it.
Well, it's you and I have talked about in private. I don't know if we've ever talked about it on the podcast, but it's that idea of one of the worst things that has happened to the churches is the professionalism of the churches. It's the idea that says you can't preach the Bible unless you got some degree,
Right.
or you can't evangelize unless you got some sort of degree, or and just go down the line. It's like you got to have a degree, you got to have a degree, you got to have a degree to do anything, and it's like that has killed us.
Yeah.
That has really killed us. It's made people scared to try, is one. It's made people feel inequipped. Even people who have been members of the church for decades. Well, it's like, well, I've never been to school. I've had people say that. Well, I've never been trained. Hello, you've been a Christian for 30 years. You're telling me that there's really you
know
can't
nothing, yeah.
you can't put a lesson together, or there's nothing that you can teach other people about in all your years of experience walking with the Lord. You got nothing just because you didn't sit in the classroom, and just because you don't have a framed diploma hanging on your wall. You got nothing. I mean, that's awful, and that's where a lot of churches are today. It's like we're wanting this expertise in all of these areas of doing the Lord's work, but in reality, that doesn't really help. What helps and what we need to do is going back again to that old school model. Is like, look, when people were being discipled by Jesus, Jesus walked with his disciples for 3 years, but it wasn't horribly long before he started sending them out 2 by 2 to go do the work without him. And also in the book of Acts, when you started having people who were baptized and becoming members of the church, it wasn't long before these young guys, going around with Paul, for example, your Tituses and your Timothys and these types of people, that they were doing the work. I mean, it wasn't, it's like if you walked with Paul, I guarantee you, because you see this instance with him, with the situation with John Mark. If you're going with Paul, you're going to be working.
Yeah.
And if you're not going to work, you're not going to be able to keep up.
Yeah.
And so that's why, putting you in these situations is so important. And we need to do that with more and more of our new converts is putting them into these situations, A, because they grow, and B, because they're still new enough, from the world, so to speak, that like you said it a few times today, where they are. Where they are. And their walk. Then how they're probably perceiving us. How weird this might be sounding for the first time out, because it wasn't that long ago for you. So you can sympathize with that, and that's what makes you invaluable, and so that's a good thing. So we call you out, and we try to call people out to give them some experience, put their toes in the water, for this kind of work, because guess what? I'm not getting any younger. And so, so who's gonna take up the baton after we're done, because none of us get to stick around forever. And I remember a dear old Christian friend of mine from New Mexico. She used to say it's the role of every Christian to replace themselves. And,
like Men in Black.
Exactly. It's the role to replace ourselves, because none of us are going to do this forever.
Yeah.
And that's what Paul did, and that's what the apostles did, and that's what we need to still do today.
Yeah.
And so that's why we were talking about a situation before we went on the radio today. I was telling Arnold that I was doing a online Bible study with some friends of mine in North Dakota, which it's a little wee bit colder up there than it is down here. And the way that whole thing started was that she asked me, she's like, I want to learn more of the Bible. Where at the university can I go to do this? And I internally, she was looking at me over the messenger, so I internally eye rolled, because I didn't want to do it in front of her, because that question drives me nuts. It really does. What university do I need to go to learn more about the Bible? It's like, do you not have any, I asked her, I was like, do you not have any strong Christian influences where you are now? And she said no. I said, okay. I said, well, we have Facebook Live. I tell you what, we can start doing a study online. Yeah. You, your husband, and I. And that's what we've been doing. Because again, the idea is you have to go to university to learn. It's a horrible idea. You don't. Do you have strong Christian influences in your life? And if you do, you got what you need to learn. If we're willing to reach out to them, you can learn all you need to know about God's word without paying tuition. And thank God for it. Yeah. Because Christian university more expensive than state university. Wow. But anyway,
go figure.
Yeah. So I mean, so really, it's like you get this with the private schools. Like, really, the only way my kid can get a Christian education is if I pay out the wazoo in order for them to have it. I mean, yeah, they should be learning it from home, from me as well. Yeah. My kids. And so again, so that's why this Christian education, being able to surround yourself with some good Christian mentors who are biblically sound, can help raise your game. You're getting an education from the various experiences that you've been able to have that some other people have not allowed themselves to have. And what separates them from you is the fact that you're choosing it.
Yeah. Yeah, and the whole thing from now, I just hope that I still can sympathize in the future, can remember what it's like.
Right.
Right, that I don't forget. Because, yeah, I mean, it's an ongoing thing. It's just an ongoing thing. Yeah, I'm trying. I don't know. I'm trying my best here. That's all I can say is I'm trying my best. And, it's all, and it has been easier just reading and talking to my Christian influences at church to learn about stuff from the Bible that even my parents didn't know. Right. I've read more than they've read already, just in this past year. And, when it comes to these Christian schools, my friend who's going to one has some of the same complaints, too, that, he's going, I don't know, for whatever, for his reasons, and it's okay, but it's all stuff that he already knows, stuff that he's learned, and even the people that teach don't practice what they preach over there. Right. And that's the thing, and I can see that as the danger of those universities, as running into modern day Pharisees, if you want to call them that. Yeah. People who have the knowledge and they're all puffed up, but they have no heart. And right. And I see the importance of that. I saw the importance of heart right away when I came into the church, when I came in and saw you guys. And when I saw Carl do evangelism for the first time, I saw the need for heart. Yeah. Like above everything. So knowledge can only get you so far. Right. And I think, like when you said that's what the Christian leadership is for. That's what good Christian influences are for. Because more so than the words, it's the actions and how they act that really help you, I don't understand that it's possible. I think I read in the heretics. What is it? Will the real heretics please stand up?
Yeah, will the real heretics please stand up?
On that one, there was I forgot who it was. I don't know if it was Origin or someone else who was writing, but they wrote that, philosophers, especially back in those days, they would teach about all this stuff. Like they would teach about morality, but they wouldn't practice what they taught. And
Right.
and like there was a passage in the book, like they knew, the early Christians knew that in order to teach or preach this morality, they would have to practice it. They would have to, live by the word of God for people to really see that it is possible. It's
Right.
like a thing like, how can you teach me how to do all these things if you don't even teach me that it's possible
Right.
by not even doing them?
Yeah.
So, and I haven't been to those universities, but I feel like that's what it is. Mm-hmm. Right.
But again, it's like I saw a documentary before COVID hit. It was the first half of a documentary, and it was about they were talking about the evidences of the Exodus, right, crossing the Red Sea.
I remember that.
And the thing about it is that there's people there that are teaching at Christian universities that don't believe in the power of God.
Yeah.
They don't believe but they pursue the academic game. They like the academic, they like to research, they like to study, but they don't like, they're not going to hold it to themselves. And the thing about it is that it's they have influence over those who go to their classes.
Yeah.
And that's a scary thing. And what I was going to get to, you're talking about how do you keep it? How do you keep from becoming that? Because as the Bible teaches, knowledge puffs up, but love builds up. So you have to have you have to have love. You have to have that heart that you were talking about. Because if you don't have it, you'll say, well, look at how much I know. I know more than you do, and it won't take long for you to start pushing people aside. But we have to remember, we have to be grounded in our own reality. Peter would write to the churches. It's like, look, the dangerous person is the person who has forgotten that they needed salvation as well. If we can get so ground into our own righteousness, and we might have been baptized years ago, decades ago, but it's been so long ago that we forgot. We've lived life more with the Lord than we did without Him. Yeah. We can forget that we too needed salvation.
Yeah.
And when we forget we need salvation, we become a dangerous person.
Yeah.
John would write about it in 1 John when he was talking about, like, the person who tries to say, I've never sinned, makes God a liar. Because, everybody has fallen short of the righteousness of God. No one is righteous, no, not one. And so, again, but how do people get to those situations? Like, they forget.
Yeah.
They forget, they learn enough Bible to be dangerous, and they think they're the greatest thing since sliced bread, and they forget once they were lost. Once they were without God. And so they put on airs in front of other people. And it's like, no, get off your high horse and stop it. It's like, just stop it. Because all of us need to have that humble eye.
Yeah. But no, I get you, dude. And like that's the whole thing. And that's always the main concern, like I said, is like in the future, I remember who I was in order to keep on helping people. I think that's the most important thing for me now, and it's always going to be really most important for me, is being able to sympathize. Truly, truly sympathize.
Yes.
Because Jesus, he was sinless, and he sympathized. And that's an amazing thing.
Jesus will say that, and it was actually a prophecy out of the Old Testament too, that was fulfilled in the life of Jesus. A bruised reed he would not break, and a smoldering wick he would not snuff out. In other words, a bruised reed was like a staff that was already like broken internally. And you don't dare put your weight on it, because if you put your weight on it, it would just splinter. And he said, well, he was gentle. He was so gentle. And Jesus taught nothing but truth. He's the greatest preacher, the greatest teacher who ever lived. Yeah. And he spoke tons of truth. But to those who are actually searching, a bruised reed he would not break, and then a little flame on a candle, a smoldering wick he would not snuff out. So again, I mean, that's the thing. The sinners sought out Jesus.
Yeah.
And Jesus was willing to work with them. So should we.
Yeah.
So that seems like a groovy place to stop for today, Arnold. So congratulations being on the hot seat.
Woohoo! How'd I do?
No, you did great, dude. You always do great. So
well, thanks, Chuck. You always do great too.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. But thanks to, everyone for listening again, for sticking through with us. You can follow us on Facebook, Jeff LaPlace, and I'm Arnold Martinez. You could follow Spiritual Defense.
Right.
We have a page on Facebook.
We have yes, we do. We have a page, Spiritual Defense page on Facebook.
We're here on SoundCloud. You can follow our SoundCloud, like our stuff. YouTube. Now we have Jeff.
Mission. Yes.
Jeff is a technically savvy preacher now, and he was able to put at least one of our episodes.
Yes, the first episode, the pilot episode
on YouTube, and it's a slow episode. So start.
Way to put us over, Arnold. Way to put us over.
We had trouble finding our groove.
No, you know what? I actually listened to that. Before I put it.
Is it not bad?
I don't think it's bad.
I don't think it's. And that's what I was trying to. Oh, I think I was telling you before. I would get Sherry. Told me to speak more. Yes. My friend Cole told me to speak more. But yes. I was telling you, the reason why I would go quiet is because originally when we had these conversations, that's what would happen. You would tell me something that would convict me.
So preacher man talks too much.
I know, no. Like you would just tell me something that would convict me, and you'd be like, and you would pose it to me in the form of a question, and I'd just be torn between my two answers.
Right.
I was like, well, if I say this. But what if I say this? Mm-hmm. And I'd have to really think on how I felt. And I know for purposes here, we want to keep it going. We don't want it to be too silent. But I feel like people should know that these questions, when you hit me with them, they're harder for me to answer than not. And that's how I wanted it to be. That's how it always should have been. That's what I had intended when we first started meeting weekly. Because these questions would be in my mind all week.
Right.
How do I live life? How do I be confident? How do I minister? How am I supposed to do this and that, and comparing it to what I'm actually doing. And then if the real question is, well, what do you need to do to change it? And it's like those questions is like, well, I know the answer, but will I do it?
Right.
And those are the hard questions to answer. That's and a lot of the reasons it's like that's the reason why I would be quiet. Mm-hmm. It's like I know the answer, but it's not enough knowing the answer. And I've told you this before. We've talked about it in our group Bible studies. Sometimes the room will be quiet, and you're like, well, no one has anything to say. And I've told you well, it's not that it's not hard to understand. Mm-hmm. It's when the moment comes in my life, am I gonna act correctly? Mm-hmm. How do I apply this at life? That's what always goes through my mind, in those quiet times. But I'm glad. But other than that first pilot is on YouTube.
Yes, the older episodes are going to be going to the North Mission Church of Christ YouTube page. And then the newer episodes are going to be still on SoundCloud. So be sure to look us up, say hi, share them, swap them. Whatever, help us get the word out about spiritual defense.
Give us topics.
Yes, and also if you ever have a topic, message me, message Arnold. You can find. I just do Facebook. That's all I do. I don't have the time to be able to do multi social media accounts. So but if you have a topic, fire it to us, and we'll be happy to discuss such things.
Yeah, hit us up, and we got our emails too. But if you really want them, you should just talk. You should just message us on Facebook.